Good morning. My name is Donna Marie Collins. I'm the hearing examiner that will be presiding over this morning's zoning hearing, which is a request to rezone property in Lehigh Acres. The case name is Me Placita. All testimony and evidence that I accept during these hearings must be taken in under oath. Therefore, if you intend on speaking on the record, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony and evidence you give this morning will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you. As you know, the decision on conventional zonings are now final with the hearing examiner, unless you specifically make a request for a second hearing before the Board of County Commissioners. This is a very straightforward request. I don't anticipate that being necessary. I've thoroughly reviewed the staff report. I feel prepared for the hearing, and I'm ready for it to begin.
Thank you. Good morning. For the record, my name is Katie Berkey. I am a land use attorney at Becker & Polikoff. I have been sworn in. I'm here today representing the applicant A&E Numero Uno, Inc. And with me today, I have Veronica Martin, Senior Planner and Project Manager at TDM, and Dean Martin, Professional Engineer with TDM. They're available if there are any substantive application related questions, and their resumes are already on file with your office, and I'd like to again submit them each in their respective areas.
Yes.
As experts. Thank you, and with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Martin.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. For the record, Veronica Martin with TDM Consulting. I do have one exhibit I would like to enter into the record, and it's a copy of today's PowerPoint presentation, and this was included in the 48-hour letter.
Thank you. Applicant Exhibit 1. The 48-hour letter was marked as Exhibit A by my staff.
Thank you. The request before you today is to rezone a 0.5 acre parcel from residential multifamily RM2 to the conventional commercial C2 zoning district. Land Development Code Section 34-841 permits land to be rezoned to the C2 zoning district if it's located within the mixed-use overlay as identified on Lead Plan Map 1. The subject property is located within the mixed-use overlay, which will be addressed further in this presentation. The subject property is located at 4400 15th Street Southwest in the Lehigh Acres Planning Community on the west side of Gunnery Road. Butterfly Canal is located along the north property line, and 15th Street Southwest is located along the south property line. The site is outlined in red on the area location map. The property has a future land use classification of central urban as identified in brown on the exhibit. The properties on the west side of Gunnery Road all have the same central urban future land use classification at this location, and the properties on the east side of Gunnery Road have a future land use classification of suburban as shown in the orange gold color. The subject property is located in the mixed-use overlay per Lead Plan Map 1C. The mixed-use overlay is shown in the light purple and runs along the west side of Gunnery Road. The property is also located within the Lehigh Acres commercial overlay per Lead Plan Map 2B. The commercial overlay is located on the west side of Gunnery Road, on the east side of Gretchen Avenue as shown in red on the exhibit. The yellow circle shows where the property is located, and the inset is the enlarged version, which shows the subject property where it has the site, and then the gaps for the canal and the streets. It's hard to see. This is where the site is located, and you can see the gaps, and that's where the street and the canal and then the other street are located. I just wanted to make that clear so
I don't understand what you're saying.
So the large exhibit is from Lee Plan Map 2B. And it shows, you see how it's broken up right there?
Yes.
Okay. This inset is from Lee Spins. And this shows where those gaps are located. I didn't want you to think that our property was not within the commercial overlay. Those gaps are actually the streets and the canal.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
It took me a while because I couldn't figure out why the gaps were there either. Because that was a little confusing to me. And it took me a while to figure it out. That's why I added the inset. The properties along Gunnery Road to the north and south that are also within the mixed use and commercial overlay are zoned C2. The lots south of 15th Street Southwest are developed with commercial uses, and the lots north of the canal are mostly vacant, with one lot developed as a duplex. The lots to the west of the property are zoned RM2 and are either vacant or developed with single-family and duplex uses. The lots east of Gunnery Road are zoned RS1 and are either vacant or developed with single-family use. This slide is an expanded view of the zoning map, which shows that the lots on the west side of Gunnery Road and east of Gretchen Avenue are zoned C2 with the exception of the subject property I've identified in the yellow. Again, these lots are in the mixed-use overlay and the commercial corridor. The central urban future land use is characterized as the urban core of the county, where residential, commercial, public, and limited light industrial uses dominate. Commercial uses are permitted in the central urban future land use classification, which is consistent with Lee Plan Policy 1.1.3. Lee Plan Objective 2.1, Development Location, and Objective 2.2, Development Timing, promotes contiguous and compact growth patterns and directs new growth to those areas in future urban areas where adequate public facilities exist, such as the proximity to roads, water and sewer, fire, police, and EMS, schools, and other public facilities. Both Lee County Utilities and FGUA provided letters of availability regarding potable water and sanitary sewer. LCU stated that the subject property is outside their future service area. FGUA stated that neither water lines or sewer lines are in operation adjacent to the subject property. The nearest water main is over 0.5 miles away, and the nearest sewer main is over 1.3 miles away. As a result, future development will be limited to 30,000 square feet or 5,000 gallons per day as set forth in Lee Plan Standard 4.1.1 water and 4.1.2 sewer. Future development will utilize well and septic. Lee Plan Policy 5.1.5 is to protect existing and future residential areas from any encroachment of uses that are potentially destructive to the character and integrity of the residential environment. Requests for conventional rezonings will be denied in the event that the buffers provided in the Land Development Code are not adequate to address potentially incompatible uses in a satisfactory manner. The Lehigh Acres Planning Community requires an enhanced landscape buffer when commercial developments abut single or multifamily residential uses per Land Development Section 33-1405. The buffer must be 25 feet wide with 7 trees, a double hedgerow, and 33 ground covers per 100 linear feet. The hedge must be 48 inches in height at time of installation and maintained at 72 inches in height. This buffer will be located to the west, abutting the vacant lot with RM2 zoning. The uses permitted in the C2 zoning district, combined with the small 0.58 acre lot size, the buffer requirements, and the site requirements for well and septic design at the time of DO permitting, limits the uses that would be appropriate for this site, such as an ALF, fast food restaurant, hotel motel, manufacturing facility, mobile home dealers, vehicle and equipment dealers, mini warehouse, among others. Goal 6 of the LEED plan promotes orderly and well-planned commercial developments at appropriate locations within the county. The subject property is located within a future urban land use classification, is located within the Lehigh Acres commercial overlay, is located within the mixed use overlay, and is located along Gunnery Road, a 4-lane arterial roadway, and urban services are available and adequate to serve the development with the exception of potable water and sanitary sewer. This request is consistent with Goal 6 and policies 6.1.4 and 6.1.7. The property has a future land use classification of central urban and is in an area of Lehigh Acres where mixed uses are already established. Existing commercial uses are located along Gunnery Road to the south of the subject property, and existing residential uses are located to the west. The vacant lots along Gunnery Road are within the mixed-use overlay and are already zoned C2, which permits both commercial and residential uses. The use of conventional zoning districts is encouraged in the mixed-use overlay. This is consistent with LEED plan objectives 11.1 and 11.2 and policies 11.1.1 and 11.2.5. A public informational meeting was held in the Lehigh Acres planning community on April 27th, 2023. This rezoning request is consistent with Goal 25 of the Lehigh Acres community plan, which is to create a vibrant residential and commercial community. The proposed commercial rezoning is located within the Lehigh Acres commercial overlay. Direct access to the subject property is from 15th Street Southwest, which intersects with Gunnery Road, where there's already a northbound left turn lane. And although potable water and sanitary sewer lines are not located proximate to the site, the proposed development will not exceed the thresholds for mandatory connection or extension. This rezoning request is consistent with Goal 25, Objectives 25.6 and 25.8, and Policies 25.6.1, 25.8.3, and 25.9.1. The subject property is not located in a flowway and does not contain wetlands. The applicant will be required to provide surface water management plans at the time of development order permitting using best management practices for a small project, which is consistent with LEED Plan Goals 60 and 61. The applicant has met the criteria for a conventional rezoning as set forth in Land Development Code Section 34-145. The request does comply with the LEED Plan. It meets the Land Development Code and other applicable county regulations or may qualify for deviations at the time of development order permitting. Is compatible with existing and planned uses in the surrounding area. Will provide sufficient access sufficient to support the proposed development intensity. The expected impacts on transportation facilities will be addressed by existing county regulations and conditions of approval. It will not adversely affect environmentally critical or sensitive areas and natural resources, and it will be served by urban services and as defined in the LEED plan if located in a future urban area category. That does conclude my portion of the presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I don't have any questions.
Oh, okay.
I'm ready for staff presentation.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. For the record, I'm Mary Sue Groth, a planner with the Department of Community Development Zoning Section. I've previously been qualified as an expert witness in land use planning, the Lee County Land Development Code, and Comprehensive Plan, and would ask to do so again today.
Yes, please proceed.
Okay. If I can approach, I'd like to give you my PowerPoint presentation and the advertisement that went in for the hearing.
Okay. The PowerPoint will be marked as Staff Exhibit 2. The staff report was Exhibit 1. And the affidavit of publication will be Staff Exhibit 3. Thank you.
I'll start with the request and recommendation. TDM Consulting has requested a rezone on behalf of the owner of approximately 0.56 acres of the subject property from residential multiple family RM2 to a conventional commercial C2 with the intention of developing the property for commercial use. Staff has found the application sufficient and recommends approval. Little background information on the property. I'll try not to belabor it too much since Veronica did a great job. The subject property is located at 4400 15th Street West in Lehigh Acres on the corner of Gunnery Road and 15th Street Southwest. It resides within the Central Urban Future Land Use category and the Residential Multiple Family RM2 zoning district, and resides in the mixed use overlay within the commercial overlay, and is part of the Lehigh Acres planning community. The property butts a residential neighborhood to the west and sits adjacent to Gunnery Road to the east, then a residential neighborhood beyond Gunnery. Other parcels running adjacent to Gunnery Road to the north and south of the subject property are zoned commercial C2 as well. Pursuant to LDC Section 33-1401, the applicant held a public information meeting and provided staff with the minutes from the meeting for the Lehigh Acres planning community. The rezone criteria from LDC Section 34-145. Following slides will demonstrate the applicant has met the listed criteria for the hearing examiner to approve the request. As previously mentioned, the parcel is located in the Central Urban Future Land Use category. The proposed commercial C2 zoning would be compatible with surrounding residential and commercial uses and would expand potential mixed-use development along Gunnery Road. The applicant has acknowledged that any development would require compliance with the Central Urban Future Land Use category and development regulations contained in the Land Development Code. Objective 2.1 of the Lee Plan promotes continuous and compact growth to contain urban sprawl. Rezoning the subject properties to commercial C2 provides consistency with existing commercial properties along Gunnery Road and the commercial overlay. Objective 2.2 and Policy 2.2.1 discusses the new growth in future urban areas where adequate public facilities exist. The property is located along the four-laned arterial roadway of Gunnery Road and within an area where fire, EMS, police, public parks, and transportation has been established. Pursuant to policies 4.1.1 and 4.1.2, the applicant has provided a letter of availability from the Florida Governmental Utility Authority stating the nearest water main for potable water is approximately 0.5 miles from the project site, and sanitary sewer infrastructure, as Veronica indicated earlier, is approximately 1.3 miles from the subject property. The applicant has acknowledged that new commercial development will be designed to appropriate intensities at the time of development.
Oh, can you go back to that map again?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Policy 5.1.5 states that development must protect existing and future residential areas from an encroachment of uses that are potentially destructive to the residential environment. The central urban future land use category encourages residential and commercial districts, and the request is compatible with the proposed zoning and existing future land use. The applicant has acknowledged compliance during development design with adequate buffers to the residential neighborhood, and the allowable use within the C2 district will provide advantageous services to the surrounding community and in compliance with the objectives of the central urban future land use category. Goal 6 of the LEED plan promotes permitting to orderly and well-planned commercial development at appropriate locations within the county. As previously mentioned, the properties to the north and south of the subject property adjacent to Gunnery Road are already zoned commercial C2, making this rezone request compatible with adjacent and existing land uses established by policy 6.1.4. The proposed rezone prevents commercial development from locating in such a way as to open new areas to premature, scattered, or strip development as established in policy 6.1.7, as the parcel does reside within the commercial and mixed-use overlay, which encourages development in infill scenarios. Objective 11.1 allows and encourages mixed-use development within certain future land use categories and at appropriate locations where sufficient infrastructure exists. Subject property resides in the central urban future land use category, adjacent to an existing neighborhood where development of residential and commercial uses are suggested as established in policy 11.1.1. As previously stated, this subject property resides within the mixed-use overlay established by Objective 11.2 in LEED plan. The use of conventional zoning districts is encouraged within the mixed-use overlay to promote continued redevelopment. The request is for a conventional rezoning to the commercial C2 district, and the applicant has stated the request for the future development of a commercial use, which is supported by LEED plan policy 11.2.5. Covering goal 25 of LEED plan, as we previously discussed, the subject property resides in the commercial overlay zone, and once commercial zoning has been approved, commercial uses are permitted per policy 25.6.1. The applicant has established the proposed driveway to the development will be located on 15th Street to meet minimum connection separation requirements with a northbound left lane turn lane into 15th Street from Gunnery Road. These design considerations fulfill the requirements of providing adequate access to the site established by LEED plan, Objective 25.8 and Policy 25.8.3. Subject property is 0.58 acres, is not located in a flowway, and does not contain wetlands. Goal 60 and 61 establish coordinated surface water management and land use planning and protection of water resources. At the time of local development order, the applicant has acknowledged the required paving, grading, and drainage will be designed consistent with LDC, LEED plan, and best management practice standards for a small project. The criteria meeting the code and other applicable county regulations or qualifies for a deviation. No variances or deviations have been requested with this rezone. The applicant has acknowledged that at the time of development, land development code and other applicable county regulations will be followed. Is compatible with existing and planned uses in the surrounding area. The subject property, again, is located in the central urban future land use category as established by LEED plan, which is characterized as the urban core of the county. Residential and commercial uses are predominant in the central urban areas, and the proposed commercial C2 zoning would be compatible with surrounding residential and commercial uses and would expand the potential mixed-use development along Gunnery Road. Property also resides in commercial overlay for the Lehigh Acres Community Plan area, making a conventional conventional commercial rezone compatible with this lead plan goal. Will provide access sufficient to support the proposed development intensity. Again, the property is located along the 4-laned arterial roadway of Gunnery Road. The applicant has noted that the proposed driveway to the development will be located on 15th Street to meet minimum connection separation requirements, and a northbound left lane, turn lane into 15th Street from Gunnery Road is proposed to be provided, demonstrating sufficient access. The expected impacts on transportation facilities will be addressed by existing county regulations and conditions of approval. The applicant has acknowledged impacts to transportation facilities will be addressed by county regulations, and the required traffic impact statement will be provided and evaluated during the local development order process. Will not adversely affect environmentally critical or sensitive areas and natural resources. Again, the subject property is not located in a flowway and does not contain any wetlands. The applicant has acknowledged that at the time of local development order, the required paving, grading, and drainage will be designed consistent with LDC, LEA plan, and best management practices, and will ensure natural resources, surface water management, and land use requirements are sufficient. Will be served by urban services defined in LEA plan if located in a future urban area category. This property is located within a central urban future land use category, which is described as the urban core. These areas as defined in LEA plan are already the most heavily settled and have or will have the greatest range and highest levels of public services. This property is serviced by FGUA, the Lehigh Acres Fire, EMS Medic Station 103, Lee County Sheriff's Office East District Substation, and Lee Tran Bus Route 110. And in conclusion, did I go past it? My conclusion is the requested rezoning from residential multiple RM2 to commercial C2 is consistent with LEA plan and land development code. The proposed rezone provides consistency with allowable commercial development within the central urban future land use and within the mixed use overlay, and the commercial overlay as established by LEA plan. Staff has concluded that the rezoning will not result in negative impacts to urban services, infrastructure, or surrounding property. Subject property is sufficiently served by urban services, and the request will not impact any wetland preserves or flood hazard areas or adversely affect environmentally critical or sensitive areas and natural resources. Therefore, staff recommends approval.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions.